Classic Ford and you have either a generator or an alternator car, what do you do? We've had readers write in this week and ask us the same question, and it wasn't just one guy and from one place. We had it come in comment section, we had it come in on our website, and we also had it come in a regular email from a viewer. So I figure there's a lot of you guys wondering what the Sam Hill's going on here, and today, after the break, we're going to be talking about it. Let's go!
Restoration of a classic Ford is a journey of discovery. Let Autocrafters help you with yours. We offer quality parts for Falcon, Fairlane, F-Series, Galaxy, Maverick, and Pinto. Contact us today.
All right, so what I've got here on the table is a wiring diagram. Let me say this very first off, above anything else, contact the guys at Autocrafters. Get a service manual for your particular car, because the service manual will give you everything you need as far as wiring information, carburetor tuning, if you're running a stock Ford. All that stuff is in there. You can also buy the wiring diagrams independently where they're color coded and everything, and it's really kind of cool. You can throw those in your computer and take a look at what we're talking about right here. But for today's purposes, I'm going old school, and I'm going to put this stuff right here in front of you on a tabletop in a piece of paper like I do when I'm out here working on the cars. I find that if I take and print off the wiring diagrams, bring them outside, I can write on them, I can do whatever I need to do in order to get to where I need to be with what I'm working on. So, what I've got here in front of me is a 1964 Ford generator wiring diagram. Now, what I will say is, go buy your diagram. There may be subtle differences in earlier Fords that are not on this 1964 diagram. This one is for a Mustang, but it will work for anything 1964-ish in that range. But always consult your wiring diagram for your car. Now what I've got here is, this is your generator. Okay, so if this is a generator car, pre-alternator, pre-1965, you'll note that I've highlighted the main yellow with black wire going into the voltage regulator. Now we'll say something about this here. They call it a voltage regulator pre-1965 on the wiring diagrams. After this, they call it an alternator regulator. I think that's kind of key here. I'm going to first explain the generator system, how it operates, and what it controls. And it's kind of surprising how Ford did something. I'm going to show you that in just a second. Your main wire coming off of the generator is going to go up here to the A terminal on the voltage regulator, and then it comes out of that and goes over to the charge indicator light. And you'll see I've outlined this with pink going to the ignition switch. Now the reason for that is, when you get in the car, you put the key in, you turn the ignition switch to the on position, you'll see the charge indicator light come on, and then you start the car and the charge indicator light goes off. Unless you're having a problem with your generator. If the generator is malfunctioning, then the charge indicator light will come on. If you see that light coming on, you don't have long to live as far as your generator is concerned, because it's already probably dead, and it's just telling you, hey buddy, I'm dead, do something about me. So that being the case, that's the one wire, and then another wire that comes off of here is on the B terminal, and it actually goes over to power the horn relay. On the generator cars, this B terminal comes off of here. So if you have a generator wiring harness, you don't want to change the harness out. The harness is in decent enough shape. If you want the one-wire alternator in your generator car with a stock wiring harness, this wire that comes off of here, a wire that will come off of the generator and go over to this bulb on your dash panel, so you can get an indicator light for function of the one-wire alternator. In my opinion, you would tie in to the harness right here where it goes into the original voltage regulator. You would tie into that with the new one-wire alternator in this position, and you're good to go. Now, what do you do about your horns? Well, what you'd want to do is you'd want to run a wire from the hot side of the starter solenoid on the lug over here. I'm showing you what that looks like on our 64 Falcon. You would run a hot wire from there over to your horn relay, and basically again I would just tie into this B wire here at the voltage regulator, so you're not cutting up a harness to put this horn relay in operation. So that is basically your generator setup for doing a one-wire alternator. It's really just that simple. You'll need to get the brackets obviously, but you're probably already there if you're if you're asking these kind of questions. So I'm going to move this one out of the way. I'm going to put the alternator one in for 1965 on up. All right, now this is our wiring diagram for the 1965 on up. Again, please consult the wiring diagram on your particular car. What I'm going to show you right now is just your trace out, if you will, for this. You have to remember that one-wire alternators are all internally regulated, so that means you don't have to have a voltage regulator on the outside. The only wire that you're concerned with coming off of the alternator would be, again, an indicator light wire. And a lot of these alternators will sell you one with that indicator light wire so that you can have your charge indicator working correctly or your voltmeter working correctly. So the wire for that would come off of this, and you would actually just take this wire, I'm going to do this with blue, and you would connect this wire to your one-wire alternator where the usually brown wire is for the charge indicator light or for a voltmeter. So that would go to here, and that would go inside and would give you the full function again. And again, I'm going to go through this. On a 65 Mustang, let's say, you're looking for a green with red wire, and it comes across, goes into the charge indicator light. That is tied to the ignition switch in a very convoluted manner. It goes out on a black with red wire and goes over to the constant voltage regulator, then back out again, down to the ignition switch to, again, when you turn the key to the on position, the indicator light comes up, or your voltage meter lets you know that everything's working correctly if you have a voltage meter. If you have an amp gauge, it's not going to tell you anything. Most of the time, the amp gauges are trashed out by the time you get these cars in the later days. I would recommend, if you're doing a one-wire conversion, to contact Rocketman Cougar Parts. I think that's the name of it. I'll put the link just below me here, also in the description below. He sells a volt gauge for just about any Ford product that will convert you over from the nasty, unusable, you can tell I don't like them, amp gauges that Ford put on these cars all the way up through the early, I don't know, they went with amp gauges for forever because Ford never changed anything. So there it is. The horn now is not part of that circuit. It is now inside the dash panel, making it a lot easier to do the one-wire conversion. What do you do with both of those harnesses when you're done making your one-wire conversion? You can tie them off into the harness somehow. You could even go in and just basically knock them out of the system altogether because you don't need them because you're doing everything through your new one-wire alternator. So there you go, there's that. Another little weird tidbit for you that's totally unrelated, but it is kind of related. You know, you're thinking, oh my gosh, what about my gauges? Don't I need the voltage regulator or the alternator regulator in order to control voltage to the gauges? No, you do not, because Ford put a voltage regulator on the back side of the gauges on a stock gauge panel. So it regulates the voltage down to I think 6.5 volts. So you're not even running a full 12 volt system into the gauges. Ford took care of that because I don't think they wanted to change the gauges out. They want to just keep the pots the same all the way through, I don't know, probably the 90s, because Ford's like that. So there you go. Now you know that the voltage regulator is not even required for your gauges. You can rest easy on all that. And that's our little bitty show for this week, folks. Be sure to go out and check out our Patreon account at the $10 a month level. You get monthly meetings with me and other people. We have a great time. Had a guy leave a comment in the section below talking about that the other day, how much he enjoys this and he wasn't sure he was going to like it. So there you go. That's my little ad pitch for joining our Patreon account. That information is in the description below as well. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribing. If you don't subscribe to us, you'll never know what's going on without clickety-clicking that little bell on the side of the subscribe button. If you click that bell for notification, you'll be notified every time a new video comes out, and we're putting 2 up a week, usually. One for Auto Restomod and one for Manic Mechanic right here. So do that as well. And lastly, please be kind to each other, be nice to each other, love on each other. Have a great week, and we'll see you on down the road. I don't know if I hit all of it, guys. If I didn't, leave me a comment in the section below. I might put a stupid little video up saying what I missed. But as far as I can tell, that's what you need to know. So there you go. See, we do read the comments, regardless of what you might think, or you might think.